Apparently it's pronounced Godot and not Godot. Who knew? Hey movie fans, Wonder Woman is the latest film in the DC Extended Universe, or the DC Cinematic Universe, depending on what you want to call it. We've had Man of Steel, yay! Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Suicide Squad, so far. But how is Wonder Woman? It was generating a lot of positive buzz leading up to its release, and yeah, it's good. It's a lot of fun. It's your average superhero film. It's a good movie. I was pleasantly surprised, and that was coming from a person that actually had a lot of expectations. I knew going into it that people were saying it was really good, and I really enjoyed it. However, the film is not without its faults, and we'll get to that. But first, let's cover the positives. The cast and everyone involved is a lot of fun. They clearly enjoy the property that they're working on. There's a lot of humor. It's really lighthearted and fun, which is a big deviation from a lot of the DC stuff that we've gotten so far. Of these characters don't take themselves too seriously. They're allowed to crack a smile. They're allowed to show their more human side, which is something we've been sorely missing so far from these Moby universe. Thanks, Batman v Superman. This film also, its overall tone is more hopeful and optimistic, as Diana herself, Wonder Woman, is more naive and doesn't know the world as a whole, and still chooses to believe that it's a good place with good people, and it really hasn't been exposed to the evils of the world yet. She does in the film, but by and large she still maintains this really positive outlook, and that's so refreshing to see from a hero. The story was really good. It was your standard superhero origin story set in World War I, very similar to Captain America, the First Avenger. However, both of those films are really excellent keep it simple, keep it good. This is a very simple and straightforward story for the most part. Wonder Woman leaves her home to go stop an evil, and then her mission is complete. But, of course, it's a little more complicated than that as she gets exposed to the real world. And that's where a lot of the humor and character moments come from. Of the fish out of water thing could easily flounder, but in this case, all the characters involved, whether it's Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, or Etta Candy, all of them are really funny and just really engaging and likable characters. Wow, DC, likable characters. You paying attention? Make your characters likable and the movie is successful. Shocker. The film also has an incredible soundtrack. Like, I will be revisiting the soundtrack for this for a long time. It has this light, hopeful, inspiring tone to it throughout, which is something we really needed. I haven't had really that in a movie in the DC Cinematic Universe yet since Man of Steel, really. That was more hopeful and optimistic, but even then it had its darker moments. This one is very optimistic and hopeful throughout. It's very good, uplifting, encouraging music. Like, it gets you in the moment. Especially, the best thing in this movie is the introduction of Wonder Woman. Not specifically Diana Prince, like when she's on her home island or whatever, but when we first see her suited up in action, the music that accompanies that, as well as just the entire scene in general, that, DC, take notes, is how you need to introduce all your heroes going forward to something that awesome going forward in terms of magnitude of, ooh, okay, I like you, because before this movie, I knew of Wonder Woman's story. I'd always seen her teamed up with Batman and Superman and other members of the Justice League and like animated stuff, the TV shows. This one was like, oh, as a solo character, you're pretty awesome. And that was due in large part to this whole introduction scene that she gets of, I'm not going to go into details, but basically she's on a battlefield and she's awesome. No more needs to be said without spoiling anything. However, the film is not without its faults. The film starts off incredibly slow. Like, for the first third of it, I'm looking at my watch going, when does this start picking up? Because this is not as good as everyone's hyping it up to be. But once the actual story gets going and she's with Steve Trevor on their adventure, things start picking up and it gets to be more of your stereotypical superhero story, and it gets a lot better, but it starts off so incredibly slow. I will also say, however, Gal Gadot, while fine in this film, is just that. Just fine. Now, hear me out. After you saw the first Iron Man, Could you see anybody else playing Iron Man except for Robert Downey Jr.? Or after the first Captain America, could you see anybody else but Chris Evans in that role? That's kind of the impression I wanted, was you absolutely nailed this, of you were awesome. Most of the cast does that, especially Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. I can't think of anybody else in that role. He was so perfect. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was fine. However, I do think she was a bit at certain points. When she has to emote, she still kind of struggles with that. However, I attribute that more to she hasn't acted a whole lot just yet, so that experience may still yet come. But she was just fine. But her performance was good, and I expect when she gets more acclimated to the role in future Wonder Woman sequels, because there'll be Wonder Woman sequels, or like Justice League or other DC movies, so she'll get more acclimated to it and get more comfortable, getting her feet wet, and just knowing the character better, she'll be able to act a little better, and better than fine. She was fine in this. Average, I'll go with that. And lastly, for the negatives, the whole final act is your stereotypical superhero grand finale of fight the bad guy, save the day, etc. And it was kind of generic, very generic ending. But by and large, that does not outweigh the whole mountain of positives this film has. It's the best female superhero movie ever. But then again, it didn't have a lot of competition up against it. Elektra and Supergirl. Yay. And to me, I still think Man of Steel is a little bit better in terms of the DC Cinematic Universe, but Man of Steel fell closely behind by Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman. As a whole, the DC Cinematic Universe looks like it's gone the upturn after this. We finally have a good one, and it's a thoroughly enjoyable movie. It does have its faults, but what superhero movie doesn't? Just go, have a good time, enjoy it. It's a fun, entertaining movie. DC's back on track for now. Fingers crossed that Justice League can keep the momentum going. As a whole, I will give Wonder Woman an 8 out of 10 for being a lot of fun. Not perfect, your stereotypical average superhero film. It's right around the middle of the pack in terms of all-time greats. It's not one of the top 10, but still a lot of fun and thoroughly enjoyable. Well, what did you guys think about Wonder Woman? Comment below. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.